Hello guys, we are on the 8th and final game on the initiative series, and this was played between Kiers and Koto in 1947. This game is a short game, and this game finally illustrates the concept of initiative. E4, the C5, it's a Sicilian. After knight E2, Kiers was always recognized as a great expert of the Sicilian defense. He repeatedly crushed black in so many different ways. He was also recognized as a great inventor, and he probably prepared something for his opponent. Koto always felt uncomfortable playing the Sicilian as black against the great Paul Kiers. So he decided to deviate from the well-known theory and to play originally. But that was a very bad decision. He played d6, then g3, then b5. And it is time to stop for a while. What is the idea behind black's strange last move? Certainly the idea is to accelerate the queenside expansion and to advance the b pawn before the white knight gets to c3. It looks like black will benefit from this premature advance. He plays b5 without needing to prepare it with a6 like in a normal Sicilian. In fact, this is not the case. In a few moves, it will be clear that white gains tempi. At this point, let's just remind ourselves of the remarkable and useful principle: if your opponent plays on the flank, counter in the center. Now bishop g2, bishop b7 and d4. Now c takes d4 and knight takes d4. Here instead of c takes d4, knight d7 is another satisfactory option, but still white's position should be preferred due to a space advantage and control of the center. Also, black determines the position of the queenside knight. It can no longer be developed to c6. Here white can play castles. Then e5 by black. Even knight gf6. And then knight b2 c3. If at all b4. Then knight to d5. So, but black exchanged the pawns after knight takes d4. Then he played a6. It becomes clear that black did not save even a single tempo. The move a6 is played. We are now in some strange Najdorf, and white uses the fact that the black's kingside pieces are on their initial positions to siege a huge initiative. Now castles, knight f6, rook e1. White threatens to advance his e-pawn. Black eliminates this threat with his next move. Now queen c7. Here e5 was better. Now although after knight to f5, now g6, knight to e3, bishop to e7 and knight to c3. White is evidently better due to control of the weakened d5 square and better development. Black also has weaknesses on the king side, and the lack of harmony in his camp is apparent. After queen c7, now a4. Now white gets the initiative, which he will keep until the end. Black will be unable to finish development or even castle. His kingside troops are undeveloped and his queenside pawns are vulnerable. After his uncareful advancing, finally we see that white is the one who benefited from black's strange third move. Now b takes a4. If at all b4, then c3, c3, and if a5, then cb4, ab4, and e5. Now d5 and knight to b5, queen c8, and after queen c8, bishop to f4. This looks devastating, the reader. So if at all the bishop is taken, then there is this check, and the queen is okay. Then so that's why so that's why the bishop on f4 cannot be taken. If black played here b takes c3, then knight takes c3, then knight bd7. Now knight to d5, knight takes, e takes, leads black to a hopeless position. He is unable to castle kingside without losing material. The e7 pawn is vulnerable and there is no satisfactory defense against the moves knight c6 and bishop g5, etc. So it was better to take the a4 pawn. After b takes a4, rook takes a4, and here knight c3 was even better. White wants to get rid of his knight. White wants to get this knight to d5 after knight c3. Now knight bd7 and then bishop d2. Black played the opening in original style and also badly. Falkius well understood that the first phase of the game was now over. He logically and successfully countered black's strange third move. It is time for a crushing plan to be found. Intuition told Kyrgios that a5 was the best square for this bishop. And the natural knight c3 was also a good option. After e6, then knight d5 comes. Now black plays knight c5. Now rook c4. Take a look at white's setup. His queenside knight is waiting to be activated. It will have a role later. The rook and bishop on the queenside are very strong pieces, even though they are strangely placed. If the opponent plays the opening strangely, it is sometimes necessary to employ even stranger measures to refute it. The c5 knight is in trouble. Now e5, knight f5, and then queen to d7. Now bishop h3. Knight c3 with the occupation on the d5 outpost was simple and the strongest, but Kiers preferred to play in a tactical manner. Now knight e6, bishop to a5. In many games we observe the bishop scissors on b2 and g2, but in this case a5 and h3 are much better. Now g6. If at all d5 is played, then rook to c7, knight takes c7, knight takes g7 check, bishop takes g7, then bishop takes d7 check, and king takes d7, he takes d5. Is winning for white. So d5 was not correct. So after g6, knight to e3, rook to c8, then knight c3. Last but not least, the knight joins the battle. Black is hopeless now. White's minor pieces terrorize black. The black king is in center, surrounded by weaknesses. Here, if at all knight d5 was played, then knight takes d5, and rook takes c8 check, queen takes c8, and e takes d5, queen to c5 would have been equal. So knight c3 was correct, and after rook takes c4, knight takes c4, queen c6, now b3. It may appear as though black has survived. However, after some deeper analysis, it becomes clear that black can do nothing. Black is just delaying the inevitable. Now knight to c5. It's a mistake, and let's see other options. If at all bishop e7 is played, then bishop takes e6, and then f takes e6, bishop to b4, short castles, and then bishop takes d6, rook to d8, then knight d5. So this is a beautiful and incredible blow, because after this there is bishop takes e7, rook e8, and knight takes, and queen b6. Now bishop takes this, and knight to g4, then queen e6, then e5. The position is hopeless for black here. As you can see, his pawn structure is damaged, and white has the initiative in his hands. Bishop takes, then knight takes f6 check, king h8, knight takes e5, queen c7, knight rook takes, then takes, knight f7 is coming. So this is also winning. This is also winning for white. So black cannot play bishop e7. Is not good either. And here, if at all black would have played knight to d4 instead of knight c5, this looks promising, but there are still some amazing tactical shots like knight to d5, and after knight takes d5, there is knight takes e5. If d takes e5, then queen takes d4, and if it is taken, then there is e takes d5 check, and white is winning. So then after knight c5 by black in the game, now knight takes e5 is coming. Now the point of the move is black can either choose between getting mated on d8 or losing the queen. So he decided to resign. A terrible defeat indeed. Paul Kier's games are suggested um, by many chess coaches to learn how to seize and support the initiative, and this is one of the finest examples. So thank you all guys. This is the last game in this series. I'll be meeting you in the new series. Thank you all.